Jung-hyuk travels with Seri to meet the ship that's supposed to take her home, but before they can make the switch, the North Korean Coast Guard boards their boat and they're forced to hide in the hold. They stay silent, hoping not to be discovered as footsteps echo above them. The new Coast Guard chief refuses to be bribed and orders the hold opened, and when he does, he sees Jung-hyuk and Seri kissing. Jung-hyuk shows the chief his credentials and explains that he was just taking his fiancée out for some night fishing and a little pre-wedding get-to-know-you fun, according to Seri. His calm explanation and official ID buy them a little trust. It works, and the chief lets them off the hook. But he tells them to head back to shore immediately, making Seri miss her chance to go home. She's furious, but she decides to stay positive and just think of herself as temporarily lost. She tries to see the situation as an unexpected detour rather than a failure. She tries to make Jung-hyuk promise to get her home within a week, but he says a sea control order has been issued and won't be lifted for around 2 weeks. Seri snaps that she just wants to be comforted, pointing out that Jung-hyuk has no problem lying when it gets him out of a scrape like claiming her as his fiancée or kissing her. Poor Jung-hyuk stammers that she told him to do something, and he's flustered when she says it wasn't much of a kiss. He's clearly not used to Seri's emotional outbursts or sarcasm. He's completely defeated by Seri's illogical logic, but he still refuses to make promises he can't keep. Before dawn, Jung-hyuk hears his gate slam, and when he checks the living room, Seri is gone. She takes her paragliding equipment, the teammates had kept it safe previously, and hikes to the top of a mountain, intending to try and paraglide home. She's determined to take control of her fate, no matter the danger. Before she launches, Jung-hyuk catches up to her. He tells Seri that she landed here because there was a natural disaster, but it's a clear morning so she'll be seen and caught. He pleads with her not to risk her life over a desperate plan. He belatedly realizes that her walkie-talkie is on, just as Chul-kang arrives at the State Security Department and is informed that a suspicious transmission has been pinpointed. Knowing that it will only take a few minutes for the authorities to arrive, Seri tells Jung-hyuk to stay here while she goes down and turns herself in. Jung-hyuk points out that he'll be in trouble anyway since they think he's her fiancé, so he looks for another way out. With time running out, he makes a split-second decision. He can see the military vehicles approaching, so he grabs Seri tightly and throws them both off the edge of the mountain. Seri's parachute catches, and they gently float together through the air. Seri apologizes for taking her frustration out on Jung-hyuk earlier, and thanks him for everything he's done for her. Their bond quietly deepens as they glide in the silence of dawn. By the time Chul-kang arrives at the mountaintop, they're long gone. Chul-kang goes to his office and calls Man-bok in to ask what he knows. Man-bok hasn't heard anything strange, but Chul-kang still feels that something is off with Jung-hyuk and Seri, and he gives Man-bok some money to buy extra food for his son to entice him to keep spying on Jung-hyuk. Man-bok's loyalty is challenged by his growing conscience. Man-bok goes to buy meat from the butcher in the marketplace, and while he's waiting, he overhears Jung-hyuk arranging to order coffee beans from the vendor at the next stall. Man-bok's wallet is stolen as he's paying, and Jung-hyuk begins to chase the thief while everyone else is still processing what happened. Unfortunately, the thief leads Jung-hyuk right to the local gang's hideout, and Jung-hyuk finds himself fighting the entire gang alone. He does a pretty good job, and even pins the gang leader to the ground. He doesn't see another gang member sneaking up behind him, but luckily, Manbok arrives and knocks the gang member out. For once, Manbok steps in and chooses courage over caution. They get out of there, and as Junghyuk walks away, Manbok pulls a small piece of paper from his wallet. The teammates sit at Junghyuk's house with Seri, who's still so upset about missing her boat that she stuffs her face with rice crust and sugar, complaining that back home she's infamous for eating like a bird. Comfort food becomes her temporary therapy. She cheers up when Jomok tells her that Junghyuk asked them to protect her, taking it as a sign that he likes her. Jisoo says it's because she's a troublemaker, so Seri asks for her products back, but Jisoo refuses. Wol-suk comes to tell Seri that today is Youngae's birthday, the wife of the senior colonel, and thus the unofficial leader of the village women. She's told to show up later for gift inspection, but Seri says that she doesn't go to other people's birthday parties and shuts the gate on them. She's still adjusting to the social customs of her new world. The director of the trial bureau, who threatened Junghyuk before learning whose son he is, visits Chulkang and nervously wonders if he should apologize to Junghyuk for that day. Chulkang says that Junghyuk claims to have a fiancé who's in Division 11 and requests a meeting with the director's cousin in Pyongyang about the matter. Seri is worried about how she'll get home, especially when she finds out that not only is Junghyuk not very highly ranked, but that the more senior officers don't like him. Anxious to get rid of her, Jisoo tells her about the preferential star, an award that offers a chance to get promoted when it's not promotion season. The senior colonel gives out the award, so Seri shows up at Youngae's birthday party after. She's just in time to see Maeng-suk, Manbok's wife, being ridiculed for the frumpy handmade dress she's brought as a gift. Seri uses her fashion expertise to rescue the moment. She makes a few adjustments to the dress and describes it as the hottest worldwide trend, winning over both Youngae and Maeng-suk. Meanwhile, Junghyuk and Kwangbum drive to the engineer repair unit to look for signs of a secret military truck unit. On the way, Junghyuk hears that Seri is trying to get him a preferential star and he simpers the same way she did about the teammates guarding her, until he learns that it's because she sees him as low-ranked, and he huffs indignantly. Their petty reactions show how much they're starting to care. Naturally, the soldier in charge of the repair unit doesn't want to let Junghyuk in, so Kwangbum stalls him while Junghyuk looks around. Junghyuk notices blueprints and strange parts being made that match the odd armor on the front of the Kamaj trucks involved in the accidents, and he even swipes a small piece of dark metal before he and Kwangbum leave. By the time the birthday party is over, Seri is calling Youngae Unni. She's told the wives that her name is Samsuk, and she convinces Youngae to put in a good word for Junghyuk with her husband. Junghyuk rides by on his bike and hears them talking, so he backs up and rides past a few more times until Seri sees him. Even his shy attempts at getting her attention are adorable. He denies that he was waiting for her, but Seri isn't fooled for 1 second. He's even padded the bike's bar, and Seri guesses it's for her to ride on. Junghyuk gives her a ride home, fussing at her gently for planning to walk home in the dark. The teammates are still at Junghyuk's place when they arrive, and they tell Seri that Junghyuk bought clams and arranged for them to return to the barracks late tonight. They cook the clams by pouring alcohol on them and setting them on fire, and Jomok teaches her how to eat the clams then drink soju from the shells. It becomes a cozy night of laughter, firelight, and growing feelings. As the evening goes on, Junghyuk sneaks glances at Seri, and he smiles at how pretty and relaxed she looks. Back in Seoul, Seri's family gets together for a meal, and Chairman Yu announces that he's giving Sehyang the company. Sejun and Haeji loudly object, and the brothers start tattling on each other. Sejun reveals that when Seri was named successor, Sehyang wanted to disclose to the press that she's actually Chairman Yu's illegitimate daughter. Sehyang retorts that at least he still sees Seri as family, and wasn't glad she might be dead like Sejun. Sejun yells that their mother wanted to abandon Seri when Chairman Yu brought her home, and their mothers had enough. She remembers Seri as a child, standing by the ocean and counting, and she says that they don't know what happened to Seri, so it's too soon to look for a replacement. Even the coldest family members can't ignore Seri's absence anymore. A very drunk Seri and Chisu play a word game, while Manbok plays along as he listens from his bunker. He almost seems envious of the warmth he hears in their laughter. In the morning, Junghyuk hand-roasts the coffee beans he managed to procure, and uses an ancient pour-over coffee-making set to make a cup for Seri. She wakes up in his bed to the smell of freshly brewed coffee, and Junghyuk is adorably pleased when Seri proclaims it perfect. It's the quiet, thoughtful gestures that reveal his growing affection. He gets ready to leave, and Seri pretends to pull a little finger heart out of her pocket for him. He gathers Chisu and Jomok to ponder over what the gesture means, and naturally, only Jomok knows that it's a heart. He explains that the heart means love, and that a finger heart means the person likes you. Junghyuk looks horrified that Seri may have taken his kiss seriously and developed feelings for him, and he's forced to confess that he already has a real fiancé. In Pyongyang, Dan visits her family's department store with her mother, who fusses at her for having gotten too thin while studying in Russia. Dan explains that she has to be thin in order to be globally stylish. She chooses an outfit to wear when she sees Junghyuk for the first time in years, though her mother thinks it's too flashy. Dan is preparing to stake her claim on a man who may no longer be hers. Seri goes with Young Ae and Wol Suk to the market, where the vendor who sells South Korean beauty products offers them one of Seri's company's skincare products. Seri is overjoyed that her product is so popular it's even sold on the black market, and when the vendor doesn't seem to know much about it, she does a whole presentation on it for her new friends. Her confidence returns as she reconnects with her identity. Insurance agent Suchan continues to dig up examples of people who have survived paragliding accidents, terrified that he'll have to pay out the huge policy Seri bought for herself. He and Secretary Hong run into Sehyang and Sang-ah at the Seri's choice offices, and Secretary Hong admits that he's been wondering if Seri's comment that she's about to go somewhere high up meant that she was planning to defect to the north. Sehyang warns Suchan to stop spreading groundless rumors that Seri might still be alive. CEO Jeon takes Seung-joon hunting, and when Seung-joon mentions that he hunted a lot in South Korea, manager fusses at him for mentioning where he's from. Seung-joon tells CEO Jeon not to nag him, but CEO Jeon argues that a lot of people will go down if their arrangement is discovered. Dan locates a taxi to take her to see Junghyuk, but the driver says it's too far. Dan keeps offering him more money until he accepts, and soon they're off to the village. On the way, the cabbie sings folk songs enthusiastically along with the radio, so Dan puts in her earbuds to listen to some classical piano music. She takes out a picture of herself and Junghyuk. She's looking at Junghyuk, but he's smiling at whoever is taking the picture. Even the photo hints at his heart being somewhere else. On a remote dirt road, the taxi's engine stops, so the driver leaves Dan in the car to hoof it to the nearest village, taking the key with him. While she's waiting, Seung-joon drives by after finishing his hunting excursion, and he stops to offer her a ride. He tries his best flirting moves on her and gets soundly rejected, to CEO Jeon's great amusement. Chul-kang gets a call from his contact, who says that he looked into it, and there's no woman of Seri's age and description in Division 11. In fact, there's currently only one woman in Division 11, and the contact knows her personally. After dark, the market gets crowded, and Seri is separated from her friends. Wol-suk runs to Jung-hyuk's house and tells him that they lost Seri, and he goes into instant panic mode. He rushes to the marketplace, which the women find quite romantic. Alone and scared, Seri stands in the busy marketplace, frozen and unsure what to do next. Her childhood memories return, triggered by the feeling of being lost. She counts again, and suddenly she sees a light in the middle of the crowd. She moves towards the light, and as she gets closer, she sees that it's Jung-hyuk holding up a candle. He looks so relieved to have found her, and when he says shyly that it's a scented candle this time, Seri smiles.